the last 24 hours or so, there have been several of you guys request that I talk about Sha'Carri Richardson and her suspension. And I told you that I would. So here we are. Your wish is my command. We here in the United States, it seems like we can't catch a break when it comes to the Olympics. It seems like it's one negative story after another. Now, me personally, I'm not a fan of the Olympics. I think it's a gigantic waste of time. I think most of the events are boring. I'm not denigrating the participants, the athletes. I'm not saying that these people aren't talented or athletic. It takes a lot of skill, years of practice, preparation, dedication to do what these people do. I just can't get into the Olympics. A lot of people like it though, and that's fine. However, it is embarrassing to the country when we continue to see stories like we have seen the last week. First, we had Gwen Berry, the Hamatossa, completely humiliate herself and the rest of us here in America. Gwen Berry thought that she was going to be the next Colin Kaepernick. Instead, she has become a pariah, rightfully so. Say what you will about Colin Kaepernick kneeling for the national anthem. You might not agree with his reasoning for doing so. You might think it was disrespectful to the military, disrespectful to the country. I don't think that was his intent, though. I don't agree with Colin Kaepernick. I don't agree with what he did. But I believe his intent was to draw attention to his cause. Whether he did that in the right way or not, that's up for debate. But the intent is what I'm talking about. Gwen Berry, on the other hand, her intent was to draw attention to herself. Turning your back on the American flag during the national anthem at an Olympic event, it doesn't get more disrespectful than that. In my opinion, Gwen Berry should be banned for life from being a representative for America. So we have the stain of Gwen Berry. And now we have Sha'Carri Richardson being suspended for 1 month for failing a drug test. And I use that term drug test loosely here. Sha'Carri Richardson wasn't using performance-enhancing drugs. She wasn't using steroids. She wasn't hyped up on meth or powder. She wasn't shooting up. She wasn't using any drug that could have enhanced her performance. She just won the 100-meter race last month in track and field. She was expected to be one of the stars on the Olympic team later this month. Her win was invalidated. It's like it never happened, which I'm having a hard time understanding because Sha'Carri Richardson failed her drug test for smoking weed. Smoking weed. Last I checked, smoking weed never enhanced an athlete's performance. If anything, it's a hindrance. Now, Sha'Carri Richardson, she issued an apology, said the reason that she was getting high was because of the death of her mother. She was raised by her grandmother. I would assume she didn't have a close relationship with her biological mother. And the reason I say that is because she found out about her death from a member of the media while she was in Oregon for the Olympic trials last month. She said that she was using marijuana to cope with her mother's death. And I can understand that, I really do. I've never had to deal with the death of a parent. I'm lucky, both of my parents are alive. They're both really healthy. Plus, I have a good relationship with them. So I can't imagine what she was going through. Having to try out for the Olympics while finding out that your mother has passed away. And you find out from a reporter. Not the best way to find out about something of that magnitude. Sha'Carri Richardson is catching a lot of heat from the noodles on social media. How could you be so irresponsible? You let down the country. First of all, she did not let down her country. She simply made a mistake. Gwen Berry let down the country. Gwen Berry is an embarrassment. I struggle to even call her an American at this point. Now, there are a couple of ways that we can look at this situation with Sha'Carri Richardson. You can look at it from the purview of she should have known better. She knew that she was going to be drug tested. You know it takes marijuana a long time to clear out of your system, which really sucks when you think about it. Of all the substances out there, booze, the opiates, the benzos, all the street drugs, weed is by far the safest of them all. And it takes the longest to get out of your system. Now, you could consider this a selfish decision by Sha'Carri Richardson. When you are participating in the Olympics, it comes with a lot of responsibility. Part of that responsibility is representing your country on a global stage. She knew the rules. She knew the rules. She knew weed was prohibited, yet she smoked anyway. The anti-doping rules regarding weed for the Olympics really aren't all that strict. It is only banned during what they consider in-competition periods, which begins right before midnight the day before an event and ends at the conclusion of the event. Basically, it sounds like to me, what they're saying is, don't smoke weed for 24 hours. Now, whether she was using weed as a mechanism to cope with the death of her mother, or she was using it recreationally, really doesn't matter. Either way, she failed the damn drug test. But, I am actually going to come to the defense of Sha'Carri Richardson. Reason being, the Olympics, they shouldn't be testing these athletes for marijuana in the first place. I mean, come on, aren't we past this already? Aren't we past the stigma that was put on marijuana? Sha'Carri Richardson wasn't even breaking the law when she smoked weed in Oregon. It's legal there. Hell, it's legal in a lot of parts of the country. And in most places, at minimum, it's decriminalized. If you get caught with personal amounts, it's like getting a speeding ticket. Now, I'm not going to go as far as Seth Rogen did and say that Sha'Carri Richardson's suspension is racist. That's just ridiculous. There's that word again, racist. We just talked yesterday about how that word doesn't really have meaning anymore. Seth Rogen is a prime example of why. This suspension has nothing to do with race. I'm sure they didn't want to suspend Sha'Carri Richardson. She's one of the best sprinters they have. She gives America the best chance to win. Seth Rogen is wrong about the fact that the suspension is rooted in hatred or racism. But he is right about one thing. The stigma surrounding marijuana in this country for decades was actually rooted in racism. I'll give you guys a little history lesson. Many people make the case that marijuana was the backbone of the American economy in the 1800s. It was widely used, it was accepted. But do you know where the stigma came from? It's not hard when you think about it. It's the same institution that ruins everything that they touch. Politicians. The stigma with marijuana came from the United States government. During the 1920s and 1930s, there was an influx of immigrants coming in from Mexico. Now, how do politicians keep their power? They had to create fear, create an enemy. Politicians during the Great Depression created an enemy in Mexican immigrants. They claimed marijuana use led to crime and violent behavior, primarily committed by racially inferior or underclass communities. Those aren't my words. That's words I found from some propaganda from the 1930s. Anyway, my point is, we are supposed to be past the stigma of marijuana in this country. Sha'Carri Richardson shouldn't be suspended in the first place because the Olympics shouldn't be drug testing athletes for smoking a little bit of weed. It's ridiculous. Now, according to USADA, the reason they continue to test athletes for marijuana is because it can enhance performance and it poses a health risk to athletes, and its use violates the spirit of the sport. Sounds like a lot of government propaganda to me. Again, weed does not enhance performance. It hinders it. And two, how does it violate the spirit of the sport? I don't understand that. Now, some of you might think that I am defending Sha'Carri Richardson because I'm a weed smoker, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Now, I used to smoke weed in high school, college, even into my later 20s, but I quit on my own, not because of a drug test. I quit on my own because smoking weed zapped my motivation. It made me lazy. I'm defending Sha'Carri Richardson because I don't believe that she did anything wrong. I don't know her political views. She may be woke for all I know, but I don't believe her smoking a little bit of weed should cause her to be suspended for a month. All right, what do you guys think? Should Sha'Carri Richardson have been suspended? I understand that she knew the rules and she violated the rules anyway. But in 2021, should we really be drug testing people for smoking weed? Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, kc_btl84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.